Okay, so in this video, we are going to be sculpting you. Actually, we are going to be sculpting tiger or tigress, depending on who is actually watching the video. But yeah, you get the idea. We are going to be sculpting a tiger's head. And this video is not going to be about talking about the anatomy of the tiger, but more of sculpting workflow because this is actually my first time sculpting a tiger myself. I have not sculpted a tiger before, so if I were to do anything weird while sculpting him, then you know why. Because I'm not going to be following the exact anatomy that I actually follow whenever I am sculpting a head. So in this case, the first thing that I need to do is to add a sphere. And as you can clearly see, that's what I'm doing. So I've told you that I have not sculpted a tiger before, and because I actually wanted to create a sculpting workflow kind of a video, but yes, without saying anything else, let's actually just get into the sculpting. So I am going to be using the clay strip brush, and sculpting is all about adding and removing volume. So if you were to just press control, you can see that you can actually remove the volume, and if you were to just let go of the control, you can add the volume. That's what I've just demonstrated. So there are going to be few brushes that we are going to be using, not all of them, and you can see that we actually need the symmetry because we are only sculpting on the one side. So in order to make our job half, we basically can just cut down the work half by enabling the symmetry on the x-axis, as you can see. So we are going to be using the symmetry. We are going to be using as few brush as we possibly can, and the first brush is going to be the grab brush. So with the grab brush, we can actually just make the bigger shapes of the head. And in this case, you can see that I'm actually just looking at a side profile on my second screen. But don't worry, this is actually a commentary, just in case if you don't know. By the way, this is a commentary over a video. And what I'll do, I'll actually in the future just gonna put the reference that I have on my second screen on the main screen so that you can actually watch it as well. Right now, I don't know why I didn't do that, but still. So you can see that with the grab brush, I am just pushing out the neck. But the problem is, you can see that we don't have enough polygons in the neck that we can actually start adding the details or basically just sculpt. So we need to add more polygons, and in order to do that, you can actually just go to the remesh option right over here and then just remesh it. So now you can see Blender have remeshed the part, and now we can actually just sculpt on it because it have added more polygons to work with. So the shortcut to do that is Control R. If you were to press Control R, you can see that you can actually just remesh that. Okay, let me actually just undo that because that was just an explanation. So the second way of adding the geometry is the dynamic topology. So if I were to enable the wireframe, you can see dynamic topology basically dynamically adds or removes the topology depending on how you are sculpting. So you don't have to go to the remesh and then press Control R again and again. You can just use dynamic topology. So these are the two methods, and you can use any of these, whichever one you actually like, you can use. In this particular case, I am going to be using the remesh. So now you can see with the remesh workflow, I have started working on the bigger shapes. As you can see, the first thing that I am actually trying to do is to match him from the side. As you can see, I am actually looking at him from the side. I'm just trying to make sure that he looks nice from the side. But whenever you are sculpting, make sure that you look at your model from each and every single angle, and I am going to show you why. So right now it is looking okay from the side, but if I were to rotate him around, he is not really gonna look that good, and I had to like fix him. So you can see that already at the back part, the shoulders needs to be a little bit broader, even though in the future I do actually delete the shoulders, but in this case I am just adding them. And he's kind of looking like a cobra, not gonna lie. So we're gonna have to smooth that out and push them back. Right now, you cannot actually see the reference that I am looking at, but as I've told you, in like few minutes, I am going to enable, like not enable, but I am going to show you the reference and then just put that in the main screen. So I am mostly using the grab brush right now. So this is the first brush. If you were to press shift, by the way, you can smooth stuff out. So consider the smooth brush as the second brush, and the third brush is going to be the clay strip brush. These three are the main brushes that I use in the entire process of creating this like piece. But I do actually use another brushes, and those brushes are pretty situational. But the main brushes are only these three brushes, or maybe draw sharp brush, if you were to add four. So you don't really need that many brush in order to create a really nice looking piece. And that's basically what I'm gonna be doing and showing you. So the way that I actually like to use the clay brush is you can add and remove the volume pretty nicely. And also, if you were to lower down the strength of the clay brush, you are going to get much more control over your strokes, over your volumes. And as I've told you in the beginning of the video, sculpting is all about adding and removing volumes efficiently. So make sure that whichever brush you find is easier to do that, you can just do it. And in this case, you can see I am decreasing the voxel size because I want more details, because these voxel size is relevant to the pixels. So the smaller the pixels, the more resolution you are going to get. And that's why you can see the lesser the meters, the lesser the numbers, the more details you are going to get. And I actually kind of needed the details, so that's why I had to lower down the number. Now, the first thing that I am doing right now is I am actually sculpting the nose. Even though I should have focused on bigger shapes first, but in this case, for some reason, I have actually just started doing the nose. It is totally up to you if you wanna you know, I don't recommend this way. If I'm being honest here with you, I know this is supposed to be tutorial and I am supposed to show you the right way of doing things, but I just for some reason started adding details to the nose because I was kind of curious how it is gonna look. And now you can see that I'm showing you the reference. So I have these amount of references where I have the front view and the side view, and this is the side view that I was using. And for some reason, I also have a leopard, but I thought that the anatomy should be kind of similar, so I just like got it. And also, leopard does not have hairs. Also, the skulls obviously. So these are the references, and I did actually put the reference on my second screen again, but don't you worry, I am going to be putting these references on the main screen so that you can actually watch them all the time. Okay, now as you can see that I have started smoothing out the front area, and okay, now I am actually putting the reference right. This is what I was talking about actually, that I am going to be putting the reference on the side. And by the way, I am using the pure ref as my image reference software. This software is called PureRef, and you can see that how the shape of the nose is, like the silhouette. For example, it was going up like this. I am basically just drawing the same shape, and this is basically what the approach is. I always look at the silhouettes and the positive and the negative shapes, and I basically just try to do the same. Now we basically need to fix it from the front view, and using the grab brush, only move the volumes on the x-axis, and that way you're gonna be able to get more accurate result. Obviously, it's not 100% accurate to the reference right now, but we are nowhere close to detailing this kind of a stuff, and I'm already making a nostrils. The problem with this workflow is actually I am doing this because I am kind of experienced with the sculpting, so I can actually just go around by making the nostril first and then just go to the bigger shapes. But if you are a beginner and cannot actually do sculpting as nicely as someone who is experienced, for example Rafael Grassetti or Chris Costa, then I would actually recommend you to approach the bigger shapes first, not like this. But because I've done so much sculpting, I can actually do this. The problem with this particular method is you cannot get the reference of anything else. And by that statement, I actually meant to say, if you have made the nostril first, you don't have the eyes, so you cannot actually match it with the reference. You cannot match the proportion with the reference because you only have one thing, the nostrils and the nose. So it's just gonna be hard for you to match. Okay, now you can see that I have started adding the volumes on the side of the mouth. So you can clearly see this particular volume is what was missing, and I am just gonna start adding all the stuff that is actually missing in the sculpt right now. So this particular volume is definitely not here. The mouth volume, I don't even know what do you even call that, like the volume where the mustache is basically growing is actually missing. So I am just trying to add that right now. And again, just using the clay strip brush, pretty simple, and not really doing anything complicated, just looking at the reference and try to figure out if the volume is working or not. And I've just realized that the volume at the mouth was not working, so I am just gonna be adding that. Okay, now we are going to be creating the mouth area. So the way that I actually like to approach these kind of thing is I actually like to mark it first. As you can see that I am marking these part, and this is basically how I actually like to approach all these kind of stuff. And after the marking is done, I am actually just gonna look at the volumes, and you can see how far this particular part is from the nose. So we're gonna have to push it far, and that's what I'm doing. I'm basically just pushing it out, and like you can clearly see by the way, like look at the reference and how wide this particular part is in the reference. So that's what I'm looking at right now, and trying to make sure that everything matches. Also, this angle is something that I need to match. So I am just matching this particular angle that you can see. And the nose is going to be smaller, which is something that I am going to do in the future. So these are the things that I'm noticing right now. Obviously, we don't have anything going on right now. For example, we don't have eyes, we don't have nose, we don't have proper skull shapes. And I am just going into the details like the mouth and the nose. So this is again not a right way of approaching things. I was able to do it because I am kind of experienced with the sculpting. So yeah, you can see that right now I am actually just fixing this volume because the volume was kind of roundish, but in our case it is kind of pointy. I don't know if you can actually say the word pointy if it is going to be the exact right word, but you can see the volume. It is not spherical like we have in the reference. So I'm just going to try and achieve that. And the way that I actually like to add bigger spherical and cylindrical volume is I basically do a bigger stroke like I've just did, and then if you were to go perpendicularly like I'm doing right now, you're gonna be able to get more spherical volume. So this is also one of the ways you can add and remove volumes, and I've told you that this is basically what sculpting is, adding and removing volumes efficiently. So you can clearly see I am actually just trying to make sure that the volume that I am sculpting actually matches the volume that I can see in the reference. And this is basically what the focus is whenever you are sculpting anything. That should be what your focus should be. Okay, that was not a good grammar, but I am learning, I am learning English. So I'll be fluent. I'll be fluent. I'm pretty sure in the future, the more I practice, the better I would become. But as you can see right now from the side view, you can clearly see the differences. And you just need to match all of this stuff. The more you match it, the closer you're going to get to the good result, basically. And you just have to match everything. Like, just look at all the stuff, for example, the placement of the eyes and everything, and you're going to be able to get there. So, let me just show you one thing. You can see the volume that we have that is going towards the eyes, and this volume is supposed to go like this. And I am also going to be showing you this same thing in the skull, and you're gonna see that that's how this particular line is supposed to go. In our case, this line is literally just going at the top, which is not accurate to the reference. So we're gonna have to fix that, and these are all the things that you need to look at whenever you are sculpting something. Like just compare all the time, and make sure that you actually just start adding and removing volumes to basically get the same thing. So in order to remove the volume, you can see that I'm actually using the draw sharp brush, and I am exaggerating the volume right now because I want to remove so much of these volumes from this particular area that I've literally just exaggerated because I wanted to do the bigger changes. So if I was, let's just say that the sculpt is pretty close to finish, I would not have done this because we are at the starting phase and we have to do the bigger changes in the sculpt. I had to, like, not had to, but I have the option to exaggerate my strokes because it is just the starting of the sculpt. And there isn't really anything that I can actually break right now because everything is already broken. So, in order to, okay, let's actually talk about this first. You can see at the skull area that you are getting this dent in the middle, and I am basically just trying to, achieve the same thing. And if you were to look at the top of the eye, there is this bump over, and also just look at the shape of the eyes. So, these are all the things that I'm actually trying to match right now, and you can see the cheekbone as well. So I am going to try and achieve the same thing with the cheekbone right now. Also, just look at the anatomy of the skull. I know I didn't really wanted to talk about anatomy, but still, if you are making a head, doesn't really matter whose head it is, whether it is a human head or an animal head, you have to make sure that the anatomy is correct. That's why I'm using a skull, right? So I am basically just matching the eye socket part right now, and I'm just making sure that this eye socket is actually at the right place. And you can see the widest part is actually the cheekbone. So I am just trying to make sure that the widest part in our skull, not skull, but in our sculpt is also the cheekbone. So I am adding the volume and making it as wide as it needs to be according to the reference. At the first part is around here. Our case. Okay, now one thing that I've realized is that this cheekbone is actually kind of back and not in front. So I am just going to grab it and then push it back so that the widest part is actually going to be a little bit back. And now I had to remesh it because a little bit of stretching was happening. So in order to get rid of the stretching, I had to remesh it, and now I'm basically just fixing it. So you can actually see the widest part of the skull in the leopard is also there. And yeah, that's basically the reason that I actually have chosen the leopard as well, because I think the anatomy should be pretty similar, right? I mean, there is no way the anatomy is different. I mean, both of these are, big cats. So I'm just gonna assume that the anatomy is accurate. And if the anatomy is not accurate, I don't really mind because in the end, the result needs to be good, which it actually is. I think it is kind of decent result, and I'm okay with the result. So now we are actually gonna be looking at this particular area that you can see, which is like popping out. So I am gonna try and basically remove some of the exaggeration that I've did over here and then add that particular volume as well. So in order to do that, I'm gonna have to remove this, but so because if you have seen the skull, you're gonna be realizing that this particular volume is a little bit less and a little bit flatter. So, yep. Also, the cheekbone over here, we need to fix a whole lot of things. By the way, you can see that we are not as close to as tiger. So, first thing first, I guess we are gonna be changing the nostrils. Yep, you can see that the nose is not as wide as we have in our sculpt right now. So, you can actually see the shape. So, we're gonna have to make the nose a little bit thinner, and then this particular part a little bit wider, the upper nose area or whatever you actually call it. So I am just trying to match this particular shape with the reference right now. As you can clearly see, I really hope the stuff like this is not actually as confusing. Like I feel like it should be easy enough for you to understand what I am doing and why I'm doing. And yeah, right now you can see that I'm actually just creating the nostril hole a little bit deeper. The reason is because it is going to be deep in the end, so why not just do it right now? Even though I should have actually focused on the bigger shapes first, but it is totally fine. So yeah, basically just massaging the shape is what I'm doing, trying to make sure that all the curves, you can see that it was kind of a bumpy surface, and now I'm just trying to make sure that the surface actually looks cleaner and nicer. So that's what the idea is right now. Obviously, he does not look like a tiger right now, but we are eventually gonna get there, so don't you worry about it. And let's see. The next thing that I feel like I can do is, because right now we are getting too much into the. I am actually just rotating it around, so I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Again, this is a commentary, so I don't know each and every single thing that I've did. Okay, I am smoothing this part out. Makes sense. It was not really looking that good. So, okay, I guess I am actually going to create the eye socket again, or maybe just remove some of the volumes. Looking at the side profile, you can see that the volume that is going through the cheekbone is actually pretty concave. But right now, oh, okay, right now I'm just making the eye, like the eye opening. It's not the eye socket that you call it, but the eyelids. Basically, I'm just drawing the eyelids, and it is like the easiest way to make the eyes. By the way, do you know that? I can create a separate video and just creating the eyes, and this is literally the easiest way to do it. You just draw the eyelids like this, and then you basically make them spherical, like I am doing right now, and then you just put an sphere in place of eyeball, and you are basically just done. So this is what I'm gonna be doing right now. You can see that I have drawn the eyelids, and now I am adding the right amount of volume that I'm seeing in the reference. And eventually I am also going to be adding the eyeball in this particular area as well. But right now you can see it is not spherical, and the easiest way to make it spherical is to just add an eyeball, and this is what I'm going to be doing right now. So you can see that you can actually just add an eyeball. By the way, rotate it on the x-axis by 90 degrees so that the topology, the weird topology where there is a point is going to be in front. You don't really have to do it, because in the end, when the project is finished, actually not the project, but when the sculpt was finished, I rotated it back so that it would be easier for me to paint it out. But it is totally up to you. You can actually just rotate it or not rotate it. It is like, again, just do your own thing. No one is gonna force you to do something specific. And I am just trying to put the eyeball in the right place. By the way, the easiest way to do it is you should just look at the skull and figure out if it is actually at the right place. So right now you can see that I am just trying to match it with the references and trying to make sure that it basically works. And now I'm gonna be adding the mirror modifier, and the sculpt itself is going to be the mirror object, so that it mirrors the eyeball on the other side as well. Now that we have the eyeball, we can actually sculpt around it, and we can just create the eyelids a little bit better. I know that right now the eyelids are not really there or looking good. Technically you can say that the eyelids are there, but they are not like good eyelids. So we can actually just start sculpting those. And for the bottom eyelid, for the bottom eye bag, you can also say the eye bag, I'm just going to mark the eye bag, and now I'm going to use the grab brush to push it back. So this is also workflow that I use. I just mark the eye bag and then I push back the volume so that it basically surrounds the eyeball, like how do you call, like a layer, for example. So if you have a ball and then you put your hand around it, your hand are actually just going to become a layer on top of the ball, and they're going to get into the shape of the ball. So that's basically what the eyelid as well. Make sure that eyelids actually surrounds the eyeball, and that's what the idea is right now. I am just making it sharper, by the way, by using the draw brush and pressing the control button, so that instead of removing volumes, they actually add the volume. And this is actually one of the ways you can make the eyelids a little bit sharper and give them a little bit of profile. So I felt like that the eye is supposed to be a little bit smaller. That's why I'm pushing this on the left side to make the eye itself a little bit smaller. I can also make the eyeball itself a little bit smaller at this point, but I'm not really gonna do that right now. But instead, I am actually just playing with the eyelids to make the eye look smaller basically. So this is what we have, and I don't know what to say. Like, you've seen the final result. Like, if you have seen the final result, then have faith, you know, it is gonna end up look like that, because this is literally the process that I've recorded. It's not something that I have rehearsed, by the way. It is actually just me tried creating a tiger, and I also have just recorded it. So now I am just gonna be commentating over the recording, and make sure that I basically would be able to, make a video out of it so that I can consistently upload on YouTube. But yeah, right now you can see that I'm actually removing some of the stuff from the side part, as you can see from the front view. And again, just looking at the reference and trying to figure out if something is working or not, and what are the things that I can actually change. So I've realized that these are some of the stuff that I can change, and I'm basically just changing them. Okay, so in this particular case, you can see that this particular volume is supposed to be a little bit smoother, like the transition needs to be a little bit smoother. And this is also something that I'm going to talk about a lot while creating him, the transition. And by transition, I meant to say the change in the apex of the curve needs to be a little bit smoother. Like, don't make sharper changes in the curves, especially if you are not using the reference. For some reason, if you are using a reference and it also have that, then obviously do it. But yeah, right now you can see that I'm actually just looking at the reference and trying to add this particular convex kind of a volume at the side of the nose. And again, just looking at the reference and trying to make sure that it works. And we have also seen the skull where this particular volume was there. So just looking at the reference and trying to create what we can see in the reference is basically what the idea is right now. Nothing special going on. But and it is not going to be the same. Now you can see that we have a bump over here on the eye, like on the upper eyelid. So again, just doing the same thing, just trying to add that particular volume. And you can clearly see this volume that I'm adding right now on the upper eyelid. And I really hope that you can see that. By the way, on the I actually cannot speak, on the upper eyelid. So this is basically what I'm trying to do as well. In the end, if the volume is not accurate to the reference, there is a possibility that I am also trying to do some stylization, because if you have seen the final render is not 100% accurate to a tiger, because there are some stylization that I did in order to make the tiger look a little bit, a little bit stylized, a little bit cooler. Even though you might think that it is not as cool, but I've tried my best. Maybe you don't like it, maybe you like it. So I actually cannot say. Everyone have different tastes. So if you are seeing me adding a volume and that volume actually does not exist in the tiger, or maybe I am over exaggerating it or just exaggerating it a little bit, then you know that I'm just trying to do some stylization. But yes, in this case, this particular transition between the nose and the mouth area was not as sharp as we have in the sculpt. So with the clay strip brush, I am just smoothing down the transition. And now we are at the bottom, like mouth area, because if you have seen that, like, let's just come over here, you can see what the shape of the bottom mouth should be. So I'm just going to try and get the thing right. And you can see that I'm actually just using the same method that I've shown you in this video way before at the start of the video, that I've just did a broad stroke and then just going perpendicularly to add the volume. So yeah, these are some of the stuff. You can also see in the skull we kind of have the same thing going on. And I mean, this side view is basically giving us the best angle and best view of this particular area. So we are just going to be using that. And just add the volume like you are seeing on the references and you should be able to just sculpt anything. And okay, let's just do that. Oh, by the way, I had some problem with the jaws because in none of these references I was able to figure out where the jaws are supposed to be and how broad the jaw is supposed to be. In the skull reference, you can see that the jaw is supposed to be slightly smaller than the cheekbone. So I've tried just using that as a reference, but in the end, you can see because of all the hairs, you actually cannot see the jaw. And I just did a little bit of guessing, and in the end, it actually looked okay. It looked nice, so I think I did a nice guess. Basically, I should have. I should have opted for a lottery instead. That would have been much more beneficial for me because that guess right there was pretty accurate. So I should have just opted for the lottery in that particular time, but I didn't, and now I'm not a millionaire. I could have been a millionaire. Okay, so you can see that I am actually just using. Okay, let's see. I am gonna be using the smooth but with the lower strength so that I basically just don't remove all the volumes that I've added. And this is something that smooth can do. You can actually just remove volume with the smooth itself by having a higher strength in the smooth brush. But right now, the idea is again to just work on the bigger shapes. We still are pretty far. We still are not close enough to tell that this is actually a tiger. I mean, people can guess, but they're gonna say that it is not a good tiger as well. So that's not a good thing, right? I mean, imagine making a face and then asking people to guess what it is, and they say it's a human, and you get happy, but then they say a really bad one, and then you get depressed. So don't do that. Just, make a really nice looking human first. Okay, I should not be, speaking whenever I'm like getting bored or whenever I'm doing something repetitive. Like I do say some weird stuff, which is just pretty weird. Okay, but I can actually talk about some of the stuff that I'm thinking about right now. For example, this particular line that you are seeing that I've just drawn, it needs to be here, which it is not right now. So I need to undo it, and I need to just create this crease like this. So this is a line that we don't have right now in our sculpture. And these are some of the things that I'm noticing, and we need to remove the volumes, like a whole lot of volume, so that it basically look accurate. You can clearly see how the volume is supposed to look. And if you were to look at the skull as well, you're gonna realize the volume and how this particular volume is supposed to be. So now I'm just gonna have to remove some of this volume, and it is already looking much better now, by the way. Well, now that we have removed this volume, it is already looking much better. So that was definitely a step forward and not backward. That's how you would know that you are actually doing a progress or not. And yeah, eventually you start with zero. Every sculpt start with zero, and with each and every single one of these processes, you basically just start adding a point, and you basically just start progressing. So just go forward, and if you feel like that you've done something wrong, it is totally fine. Just remove that part, smooth it out, just destroy that particular area, and then try to redo that, and eventually you are gonna be able to create that. So right now we are at the top of the head part, and we are going to be creating the ears. So the ears were kind of confusing as well, not gonna lie. In this particular case, the ears are kind of different, but if you just look at the ears from different angles, you're gonna see that those tigers have different kind of ears. So it was kind of confusing, not gonna lie. But I just thought that I'll stick to one single reference for the ears, and I did stick to that particular reference, and I've just did the ears, and ears are also looking decent basically. So yes, I just stick to one single reference, and it actually worked. In this case, I am just gonna be using the mask. And if you don't know what mask is, mask restricts you from sculpting in one particular area. So wherever I have masked right now, I cannot sculpt in that area. So in order to invert the mask, you can press Ctrl I like I just did. Now I can just push it back. So you can see wherever there is mask, I cannot sculpt because Blender is restricting me from sculpting in that particular area. So I basically have just pushed out the ears, and now I can just move around the base of the ears because I've realized that the ears are supposed to be a little bit closer, or maybe not. I am dumb. I am actually dumb. I thought that ears are going to be closer, but they are not. Okay, but let's actually forget my dumbness and let's see. So the thing that I'm looking at right now is the silhouette of the ears. So just look at that and try to match it. So for example, you can see the shape that I am trying to draw from the side view. You can clearly see that I am actually trying to match the shape that you can see in the tiger. And I really hope that this is not confusing. I'm just trying to match what I'm seeing. And from this particular view, I am also just gonna try and do the same thing. One of the things that okay, no, I'm not actually matching it right now, but I am basically just create the inner part of the ear. And I guess I'm also gonna be removing the volumes as well right now. I mean, I obviously do remove the volume from the inner part of the ears, but maybe I'll just do that later. But right now, as you can see, I am just trying to figure out whether the bigger shape, like the silhouette of the ear, is working or not. I think instead of bigger shape, the right word would be to use the word silhouette because that's what I'm actually just trying to match. And matching the silhouette is actually a pretty nice technique to get the volumes right because you can pretty easily guess the negative and the positive spaces. And by that, I meant to say the positive space would be where your volume actually is, like whatever you are seeing in the screen, and the sculpt part is going to be your positive areas, and the vacant spaces are going to be your negative. So if you can identify like the silhouette, it is gonna be easier for you to like also get the volume right. Yeah, in this case, you can see that I'm basically just fixing the transition. And there's also one thing that I want to clarify. I am actually still using the clay strip brush. So you don't have to worry about all of these brushes. If you really want to know about these brushes, by the way, I can create a video about this. But if I'm being honest here with you, most of these brushes are, I'm not going to say useless, but you don't need them actually. They are more situational. So you're gonna see according to the situation we can actually use some of the brushes, but those situation usually never occurs. I mean, that does occur, obviously. Never is not the right word, but they don't actually occur as much as like normal sculpting. So yeah, that's basically the reason that I also don't use as many brushes. I've only used, I think, the grab, the clay strip, and the smooth. Other than that, the draw sharp brush to like create the creases and stuff. But other than that, you are not gonna be using any other brushes. Maybe for adding the volumes, other than the clay strip. Let's just say that you're not really happy how the clay strip actually works. You might end up using the draw brush instead. But then again, you are basically just replacing a brush. So instead of the clay strip, you can actually use the draw brush. But again, the function is just going to be the same. So yeah, you can actually just do that. And now I am actually just fixing the nose because obviously this is something that you always do. If you were to create a nose in the beginning, it does not mean that you are never going to just touch the nose area ever again while sculpting. You always go back to same areas again and again to fix something, and this is just part of the process. You always go back to those areas, even though going back to some areas is considered not respectful. I had a friend and I used to go to his home like every day, but on like the sixth or seventh day he literally didn't open the door and just called me from his home saying that he is not home. But in the end, I I I I get to know that he was actually home, but he didn't really actually wanted to open the door for me because I was going there daily. So, yep, that was a really sad day for me actually. But we are gonna be forgetting that and focus on sculpt. You can actually approach same areas again and again whenever you are sculpting. So sculpting is much better than going to a friend's house, I guess. Okay, so after this great story, let's actually focus on what I'm doing right now. And it actually has started to look like a big cat. At least I'm not gonna say it actually has started to look like a tiger, but we are getting there, right? We are gonna get there slowly and surely. Reason that I'm saying surely is because you've seen the render, and if you have liked the render and you wanted to achieve the same thing, we are literally going to achieve that in this particular tutorial, because this is just the process that I have recorded and now I'm just doing a commentary over it. So you can see I am basically just fixing the areas, and right now the bigger shapes are pretty much done, even though I am going to be changing the bigger shapes afterward as well. But the thing is, we have all the stuff. For example, we have the nose, we have the eyes, we have the mouth, we have the bigger shapes pretty much done. The only thing that is needed right now is to tweak all these shapes, and once we are done tweaking, you're gonna see that we are basically there, and then we can actually just work on the details. So you can actually see the tweaking is what's happening right now. I am just tweaking all of these volumes. I'm just gonna be tweaking all of these stuff. I am also gonna be adding and removing a whole lot of stuff. So you can see that I am trying to increase the poly count as well. So yep, you can see that I'm basically just gonna go into the details now. And by details, I've actually meant to say I am gonna get into more polished version, because in this case, if you have seen the render, we don't have any of the skin details, for example. So by details, I've actually meant to say polish. I am gonna be start polishing him so that each and every single the volumes actually start making sense, and we are gonna be starting by the nose. So you can see that I've started adding some of the details in the nose, and from the top the nose is definitely not looking right, because we need to add a little bit of curvature to the nose. So we're gonna be doing that right now. As you can see, we have to push this back in order to make the nose look a little bit natural, because obviously the nose is not supposed to be straight like we had before. So these are some of the stuff that we're gonna be doing now that we are actually done with the bigger shapes. And yeah, polishing is basically part of the process. When you are done with these shapes, you're gonna realize that the eyes is not as good as you might want it to be, so you basically start fixing the eyes. So right now the thing is, I think I'm over explaining it, but in the simple words, we have everything right here. We have the nose, we have the mouth, we have the eyes. Now we just need to polish them, and that's what I am gonna be doing right now. So you can see we are starting with the nose, and let's just add the middle line in the middle because we have this middle line, and let's actually get started with this. And one thing that I would like to say is this leopard reference that I have, I think it is a render or maybe a mid journey, or I mean AI generated image, because this does not look real to me, and I am just I have my suspicious over this image, but I'm still gonna be using it for a little bit of anatomy, a little bit of volume, because even though it is kind of generated looking, and I'm not gonna lie, look at this image, it literally looks like that this image is AI generated. I'm still gonna be using it because in the end it does look good, and that's what matters. um you're gonna realize that in the future I literally use human anatomy for a tiger sculpt, like literally, and I'm gonna talk about that. So if I can use an human anatomy knowledge to basically sculpt a tiger, I can actually use leopard, which is obviously which is obviously an AI generated to actually create the tiger. So in this case, I am actually talking about the nostril and how this black part is going back. And you can confirm this by looking at other references as well, not just with this particular reference, you have the same thing going on in other references as well. So this is not something that you can ignore, and I have also not ignored it. You can clearly see that this same thing is actually happening in the other references as well. So I've decided that I had to add this, and that's why I'm gonna be adding this black area which is like going in. So these are the things that I am basically looking at right now, and this is also the part of polishing. You can clearly see that this particular surface is not clean enough, so I am actually just cleaning it up, which is obviously part of polishing the sculpt. And after you are done with adding nose, eyes, mouth, ears, the only thing that is left to do is polish your sculpt. And it could be a little bit confusing for you, like what does it mean to polish a sculpt? I mean, whenever you start with the sphere, right, you should actually start with the sphere, by the way. I don't know why you would start with a donut, or a cube or a Suzanne maybe. But let's just say that you are at the starting phase of your sculpt, like we did had that phase with this tiger as well. You cannot actually get all of your facial organs perfect looking from the start. There is gonna be a part where you're gonna have to add the facial organs, for example, nose, and then after you add the nose, you have to polish the nose. So this is super important. You cannot just nail the nose in the first go. I mean, technically you can do that, but usually the recommendation is the amount of details you have on the nose, you should also have that amount of details on the eyes. And actually, detail is not the right word. I think progress should be the right word. So if you have made the nose, and let's just say that you are there 20%, like you have created the nose and it's 20% there, you should actually just switch to eye or the mouth and then make them 20% as well, like we have right now. So you can see the nose is not 100% accurate. I am gonna say that we are 50% there, but we are also 50% there for the eyes. We are 30% there for the mouth approximately, you know. So never leave one particular part behind. Always make sure that each and every single part of your sculpt is at the similar level of progress. Otherwise, it's gonna be hard for you to judge. Like, for example, let's just say that we would just focus on the nose and literally just ignore the eyes, let's just say. And after you are done with the nose, you start doing the eyes and you realize that the position of the nose is not good now, because now you have the eyes and you can judge better. So you're gonna have to change the nose now. So all of the time is just gonna get wasted. So make sure that you do that. But now that I've actually talked about a whole lot of stuff, you can see in the skull, like the volume that we have. So I am basically just trying to add something similar volume, and you can actually just see what we are trying to get. And now I'm just going to create a crease. So again, using the draw sharp brush. This is the fourth brush that we've used in this entire project, by the way. So in total, we have only used the fourth brush up until now. And yeah, you don't actually need more brushes than that actually. But yeah, there is one more brush that we are gonna be using, and that brush is the snake hook brush. And I actually have used that to I cannot remember why I've used that. I think I've used that to create the hairs. Yes, I think I've used that to create the hairs. But right now, before that, let's actually talk about something that I have added in the reference. And I have added the side view of the skull as well, so that I can get better idea of where the bones should actually be. So you can actually see where the cheekbones front part is supposed to be, and if I am getting the bony landmarks right or not. And also this particular part needs to be straighter. We have a concave kind of a volume there, so we need to add something there because this is a bony landmark. And if you were to look at leopard, which is AI generated, you're gonna realize that this particular part is actually pretty straight, and there is a little bit of volume there which we don't have. We have a crease right over here which we need to fill. So I am again just using the clay strip brush. You know, literally my favorite brush. Actually, I've used the clay strip brush for, you know, for literally every project. and I am just gonna be filling this up. So that's basically what I am doing right now. The next thing that you can see is we need to push this particular part back, because you can see from the side how like the angle of the eye socket area. So we need to create the similar angle as well in our sculpt. And this is something I was able to identify because I have used the side profile. That also says that how important the references are. Make sure that you have references as many as you can. The more the better. Make sure you don't have them less. It's just like money, the more the better. So have as many references, and yeah, make sure that you basically cover every angle with the reference. In this case, I didn't really had as many references that I can possibly have, but I think it's still fine. I'm still kind of okay with the amount of references. So now you can see that I am now polishing the eyes. I've told you that we basically have everything. Now we just need to polish all of these organs. So now that we have polished a little bit of nose, we are actually polishing the eye. So this is just part of the process. If you feel like that you have created the eye, but in the end it does not actually look good, just you know go to the eye again and start sculpting it a little bit better. Start polishing it. So eventually you are gonna get there. Don't you worry. Just practice as much as you can, and eventually you'll be, pretty good, because no one can be a good sculptor from the start. Like, even if you know the brushes, even if you know how to add or remove the volume nicely, efficiently, it is still gonna take practice, because sometimes even if you know the volumes, you just cannot get things right, because this is literally your first time. Like, I cannot even explain you like why you cannot get something right. So the more you sculpt, the better you are gonna get, obviously. So there is no shortcut. Just sculpt as much as you can. At least sculpt one time a day. That's what I would recommend. At least spend 45 minutes. If you are a beginner, you can obviously spend more, but if you are someone who can actually, sculpt nicely, you should still just continue sculpting stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to lose the ability to sculpt. And that actually have happened to me. You're not going to believe. I was pretty decent. Like when I started sculpting, I got decent, and then I thought, I now can sculpt stuff. So I am just going to, stop doing the practice sculpts. And I did stop doing the practice sculpt. And after a month, I realized that I actually cannot sculpt anything now. So I had to then, continue doing all the practice sculpts. And yeah, now I basically just sculpt every 3 or 4 days, because right now I am good enough that I know that I don't really need to do it every day. So, yeah, if you are not good enough, sculpt every day. If you are good enough, still sculpt every day. If you are a pro, then you can actually just sculpt every like once in 3 or 4 days. It should be good for you. So yeah, now let's actually focus on what I'm doing, because I've said so many things, some random stuff. But right now you can see the only thing that I need to do now is to start polishing the surface. Right now, the surface that we have on the Tiger is not smooth enough. Like, we have these bumps, these crevices. So we need to polish these out. And in order to do that, you can actually use the scrape brush. Oh yes, I remember it. We are also going to be using the scrape brush, I think, somewhere. But you can actually just do the polishing work with the clay strip, which we are going to be doing, by the way. Right now you can see the surface. If you were to look at the mouth area where the cheekbone is starting, this particular surface is not smooth. You can see these bumpy kind of a surface which we need to fix. So these are all the stuff that we're gonna have to polish as well. And it is totally fine, by the way. If you have these, it's okay. You need to make sure that your bigger shape actually works first, and then you can focus on your polishing stuff. So as you can clearly see, I am actually fixing that particular area that I was talking about. And one of the things that I've done with this particular project is I actually didn't use as much smooth. So it was not a challenge or something, I just wanted to see how the sculpt is gonna look like if I won't use any of the smoothing. And in the end, it actually did look good. So I was kind of happy with it. But the clay strip also gave me this nice organic looking surface, which end up looking pretty nice. So I just didn't use the smooth. Okay, so in this particular case, you can see that I masked this particular area and then inverted it and then used the move tool in the sculpt mode to push it back. So again, it is kind of a problem solving kind of a thing. You could have also used the grab brush in order to push it back, but instead of the grab brush, I have actually used the move tool. And you can see with the ears, it is kind of similar with the ears. We pushed the ears out, but in this case, we pushed the mouth in. So in the ears, we used the grab, and in the mouth, we've used the move tool. And both of them basically works, and you can actually just use any of those according to the situation. So the brushes, even if I would have used the draw brush instead of the clay strip, I would have, gotten something similar kind of a result, because the sculptor is same. My end goal would have been same. For example, if I want some particular type of volume in one particular area, then it doesn't really matter like which brush I'm using. I'm still gonna be adding same amount of volumes, right? So even if you change the brush, in the end the result would still be the same. Okay, right now you can see that I am marking the jaw and pushing this out. So the reason that I'm doing that is because I actually cannot see the jaw in the reference. And I also was not able to draw the jaw in the sculpture as well. So I realized why not just mark the jaw and push it out to see how nice it is looking, like the wider jaw. So I've just did that. And also you realize the Chad man, you know, in the reels, if you actually scroll Insta, which you should not, as much as I do, by the way, I do scroll a whole lot of Insta, and in the reels, you sometimes see those Chad kind of reels, and that guy is real, by the way. That guy comes up with like the biggest jaw ever. He kind of looks like that he literally chews bricks. Yeah, that guy. I thought because muscular men have wider jaws, I thought maybe I should try and add that to the sculpture. So I did that, and he's basically looking better. So that was basically the reason why I did it. Now you can see all the stuff is pretty nice, and this particular jaw part is a bit too outside. So I now need to push it back, and you can see the reason in the reference, by the way. In the reference, you can see the cheek area is not as much, and now you can see, yeah, you can see that I'm using the scrape brush to basically scrape that part in. In the end, I've realized, I'm not realized, in the end, I've ended up using the clay strip brush to basically do the same thing. I actually wanted to use different brush to see if it is gonna work or not, but in the end it just didn't. So I've again just used the clay strip brush to do it, and this is something that I was able to observe is because I was actually just putting my sculpture at the same angle as my reference to see if there is any difference, and I was able to notice that the cheek is not supposed to be as out as we have in the sculpture. So after I've seen that difference between the sculpture and the reference, I realized that I need to push the cheek area back a bit. So just put your sculpture at the same angle with your reference, and then try to figure out what are the differences and what are the things that you can improve. So obviously, we are gonna be stylizing it a bit, and by stylized, I'm not saying that we are going to make it look like Pixar or anything. If you have seen the render, he is not like a real tiger, but a sculpture, art piece basically. So we're gonna be approaching him in the similar way. We want him to look like a tiger, but if he does not look real, it is totally fine, because in the end, he's literally a golden tiger, right? And a golden tiger doesn't really matter how nice you sculpt the details. It is not gonna look good because you cannot make fur with gold. Actually, technically, you can add the golden material, but you won't be able to 3D print it. And I wanted to sculpt him for 3D printing, so I cannot make the fur as a hair. I had to sculpt the hair. And when you sculpt something, for example, hairs, which is something that does not exist in real life, you are already getting away from the reality. So I mean, I'm not justifying that I cannot make him realistic. I can make him realistic, but that's gonna take more efforts. That's gonna take better grooming with the particle system, and that's also gonna take, better skin details on the nose, for example, or in the eyelids. So I didn't really want it to go that way because every project have their own different purpose, and I just wanted to create something nice looking that I can actually 3D print, and a nice looking sculpture basically. So that was the idea always, and that's basically the reason that I did what I did. I mean, you've seen the render. If you were to 3D print that, it is gonna look cool, right? Okay, so now I am again just looking at the side to see if everything is okay with the side or not. And I've realized that I can actually carve it a little bit deeper. So I just did that, and with that carving, it is looking a little bit better, by the way. So you can see that I am again just checking from my side view to see if it is looking good or not. And I've realized that the cheekbone that I am sculpting is going to be a little bit back, not in front. So that's what I've realized, and now I am changing that. And again, this is just part of the process. You again cannot get everything right. You just have to spend time. And Chris Costa have actually said this, I think, or maybe someone else. I don't know where I have heard it, but someone have said this, that whenever you are creating something, you never truly finish that work. You basically abandon your project. So in all of your cases, for example, if you are creating a portrait, in my case, I always give an example of portrait because I am kind of a portrait guy. I really like to create some portraits, but in my case, whenever I am creating a portrait, I can actually push the project a little bit far more. And the thing is, it would just never end. You basically have to abandon your project at one point where you feel like that this is good enough to abandon. So you always abandon your project instead of completing it, because no project is basically complete. You always have to abandon your project. Even in this case, I could have actually gone a little bit further more, and it would just never end. I can just always do something, but there needs to be a time where you have to abandon your project. So that's what I was talking about. But yeah, in this case, you can see that I am basically polishing the nose a little bit more. I have added a little bit of volume at the nose to make it a little bit more spherical. And yeah, this is basically what I've just did while I was talking about the abandoning of the project. So yeah, you can see that I am just trying to figure out what else I can, fix. So first thing that you can see is that this is pretty straight. I guess we are gonna be making that as well. Okay, no, wait, I am removing the volume. So I guess I am gonna be creating some sort of line over here. Yep, you can see that I am actually creating that. So basically the idea would be to remove some of the volume to basically create some separation. And right now you can see that I've actually start doing the stylization. This is just me doing some sort of stylization to make him a little bit muscular. You cannot actually see this particular volume over there. And now you've just seen the volume that I've marked, not marked, but I've pointed out. Let me just draw that for you. So you can see this volume that I'm drawing. And this is the volume that I'm going to be adding now. So yep, I think using Epic Pen is pretty useful, and this is the volume that I am going to be adding now. And you can also see the separation between the nose from the middle. There is this line in the middle that I also need to add. And this is also some important thing. You can see that this particular part is kind of flat, and where you can see some holes over there. So these are all the volumes that I'm gonna be adding in the future, where the mustache is also growing. And like I've just marked all the volumes, you can like see in the reference. So this is something that I'm gonna be doing next. And you can see that the volume that I've just marked on the side of the nose is basically what I am adding right now. Again, you can see the method that I'm using. I basically have just created a stroke, and now I am basically just going perpendicularly to that stroke to add the volume. So this is just a process that you can use as well. But again, your brush is pretty personal. You can use whichever brush you actually like to use. Maybe you might not like the clay strip as much. Maybe you like the clay more. Maybe you like the draw more. Some people actually like the inflate, in order to do the same thing. So just figure out your brush and figure out the best way that is best for you. And yeah, you basically would be just good to go with any of these brushes. But yeah, you can see that all the volumes that I marked, for example, in this case I marked that I am going to be adding the volumes to separate out the middle of the nose. So that's basically what I've just did there. The voice from here, I guess. And the idea is to make it look like this. Yeah, this is actually looking nice. So I'm just gonna be erase about the volumes and here now. Again, the idea is to make him a little bit stylized, not in. So right now, I am working on the jaws, and obviously you can see that, I didn't have to tell you that. But the thing is, this is something that I am trying to do in order to create some sort of stylization. Basically, a human head, like if you were to look at the skull, it does have this sort of like incision. I don't know what you would call it actually. My vocabulary is not really that good, so I have no idea what to like call it. But you can see what we were able to achieve. The jaw is not straight anymore. There is this bump, and you're gonna realize that we also have the reference where you can actually see the same thing. If I can like show it to you, I mean technically you cannot see it right now, but if you were to remove the hairs, imagine the jaws. This is gonna be something similar, right? So this is basically why I have added these. If you were to look at the leopard, I don't know why I have not shown you this. If you were to look at the leopard, you're gonna be able to see the same thing. So I have just did that. Now, because the jaw area is pretty flat, I am adding this volume, so this is the reason. And I can talk about the hairs because right now I'm basically just repeating the same thing, trying to make sure that everything looks polished and nice. And by polished, I'm not saying that the surface itself needs to be flat and like smooth looking, because in the end I don't smooth it out. But the quality of the sculpt needs to be increased whenever I am saying the polished word. So the nose, you can see the nose was not good enough, but after the polish is done, the nose actually looked way better. So this is basically what the meaning of this word is. One thing that we can definitely say is that he is, or she is, depending on who is watching the video, the tiger or the tigress is looking pretty nice. And actually it is better than what I thought it would turn out to be. Not gonna lie, I didn't had any idea that this is gonna look as nice as it is looking right now. And the final result is so much more better. So yeah, my first attempt on tiger is actually a success, I would say. If I were to create the tiger again, I would actually researched about the anatomy, but this is still looking pretty nice. And you're gonna see in the future, by the way, that I actually use the human anatomy in order to make him like that would be kind of funny. But right now you can see that I'm basically changing the shape of the ears, and the reason is you can actually see in the reference how I am trying to match it with the reference. I am going to scale down the size of the ears, by the way. Right now the ears are looking a bit too long, so I'm gonna have to push it like down a little bit with the grab brush. So you can see that I'm literally just switching to the smooth fall off in order to do that. And this is something that I've realized, that the length of the ears were a bit too much and I had to reduce that, so I've just did. And again, this is just me trying to figure out all the proportions, all the volumes, all the silhouettes, whether they are working or not. And whenever you actually sculpt something, always make sure that you look at all those things. And yeah, this is basically just going to make your sculpt look better, because the difference between your sculpt and your reference is going to be less if you were to follow these, tools. I'm not going to say rules, because art does not have rules. You can break those rules and create fantastic artworks. But sometimes, whenever you are learning something, it's important to use some specific tools. And when you master those tools, you can just break the rules as well. So you can see that I have now started to remove the volume that are in the ears. Obviously, this is something useful. And this setting that I'm showing right now, the front face only mask, what this does is, if you were to use a clay brush and start sculpting, you are not gonna be affecting the back part. I've just shown you that. So this is the reason that you actually just enable the face front only. And if I were to remove the setting, you're gonna see that this is happening. So if you don't want this to happen, just enable the front face only mask. This is a mask that Blender calculates automatically. So whatever face you are seeing on your screen is the face that is gonna get affected. So this is basically what you can do for each and every single one of your brushes, and that way you would only impact the faces that you can see in the screen. So this is what it does. And right now I'm just creating a hole, because I don't actually get the holes, so I had to create mine, and that's what I'm doing. Sometimes I do say these weird stuff, I just try to be funny so that I can get more watch hours. But people just leave way too early, before they get to hear the awesome jokes that I create in between these videos. But it's okay. Not all the people are meant to achieve greatness as well. So it's totally fine. Some people are just meant to be, they just are meant to be in the crowd. What can we do about them, right? Uh, okay. So right now you can see this black area, and this is something that I really want to add in order to do some stylization, because remember, this is something that we are going to 3D print. So whatever thing we can see as a color, we can actually add it in the sculpt as well. And the reason for that is, when we'll 3D print it, we are not going to get these stripes, these black stripes that the tiger has. These are just colors. They are not dents or they are not volumes, right? So we're gonna have to add them, and not add them, but carve them basically. And I am basically just following the same thing in the eyelid as well. Not the eyelid, but the eye corner as well. And I am basically just carving that. So that's the reason. Okay, now let's actually work on the side of the face. As you can see that I have the side profile opened in the references, and I am just trying to figure out if everything is working from the side or not. For example, the placement of the jaws, the placement of the cheekbones, all of these stuffs is something that I am just looking at right now. And the cheekbone that you can see is actually a little bit lower. It should be a little bit up, and the reason that I'm saying is because in the human head, I am using the human anatomy here. In the human head, the cheekbone basically go to the hole where you can like the ear hole. Basically, I cannot say stuff right now, but the cheekbone end up being where the ears hole are. So I am just gonna apply the same logic here. I am going to make the cheekbone go towards the ear in this case as well, because of the same reason that humans have. So if you were to look at a skull, and like a real human skull, you are gonna see that the cheekbone basically go towards the hole where the ears are. And I am basically just try to do the same thing over here. So this is actually just me applying the knowledge of human anatomy a little bit. And you can actually see that it looks better by the way. It's just not that the theory was good. The practical is also good. Like, I am just like, you cannot say that I'm just an Oppenheimer who only believes in theory. You can see practically it also looks good, right? So that was a win, and now we just need to create a nice looking transition, and the cheekbone is definitely working better right now. You cannot deny the fact that it is not working better. So using the human anatomy could also work whenever you are working on tiger. That should not technically work, but it kinda does, and it is weird, by the way, but yeah, I am just gonna take it. So this is something that I'm actually trying stuff out. Whenever I create a human, I actually like to mark the cheekbones sometimes. So I was just trying to do the same thing, and it felt like that it didn't work. That's why I've just undid it, so I don't really have to talk about it as much. Now you can see the bone, like on the upper eye area, is something that I am actually trying to create, because this bone is a important bony landmark, and I am just trying to recreate that in the sculpture as well. So basically just looking at the references and trying to figure out if things are working or not. And yeah, this is pretty much what I'm doing right now. Also trying to do some stylization on my own. As you can see, this is something that you cannot see in the reference because I'm not looking at the reference right now. But I'm still trying to add volumes in the area that would actually make sense. That would actually make him look like a little bit cooler, a little bit dashy. Okay, so right now I'm talking about the primary, secondary, and tertiary shapes, and we are at our primary shapes, and our secondary shapes usually in the humans are the wrinkles. So if you are making an older person, your secondary shapes would be the wrinkles. In this case, we are not gonna be sculpting the wrinkles, so our secondary shapes are going to be some muscular volumes, and I'm not like talking about how do I say it? Like you have some muscles in the face. So I am gonna be trying and exaggerate those in order to make him look like macho type, you know. So this is something what I am gonna be doing in terms of secondary shapes, because primary shapes are almost done. You can see that bigger forms are done, and now we just need to switch to the secondary forms. So this is what we are gonna be doing now. Obviously, you're gonna think that, bro, I've been here for more than an hour, literally an hour and 17 minutes. We are still at the primary shapes. I mean, what the hell are you? Are you going to speed things up? And I just wanna say, no, I am not gonna speed things up. You're just gonna be here with me for eternity now. I'm just kidding. I don't know how long the video is, so I'm just doing the commentary over here. And I am here, by the way, so you are not alone. I am here as well doing the commentary over this video. So if you actually want to, if you feel like that my commentary is useless, because some of you might actually think that, and it is okay, I'll respect your opinion. Actually, I don't respect these kind of opinions. But even if you think that the commentary is useless and you don't want to hear me saying all this stuff, then you can actually just speed up the video. I should have said this way sooner. Now that I'm realizing it, I should have said it way sooner. But let's just forget about that, and let's just focus on what I'm doing. So right now, this is also one of those areas where I am gonna be using the human anatomy in order to create the ears and the blending between the ears. So if you have seen an older person, I'm not doing it right now, but I am gonna do it in the future. I know that because I've created this project, and I'm not going to forget everything, right? But the thing that I wanna say is, right now I am working near the ears, and we are just gonna be using a little bit of human anatomy, and that is what I am doing right now. So I'm basically just creating this hole, and again, I'm not gonna do the whole joke again. I've already done 2 whole jokes. I'm gonna leave the third one. Maybe you can come up with something better in your own mind. My mind is kinda limited, so I'm not even gonna try. By the way, this is something like I am doing, and it is not anatomically accurate. I wanna say that it is definitely not anatomically accurate. I am just saying to see if it is gonna work or not. And I don't know why, you know, maybe because I'm a good human being and God is by my side, it kind of just worked out for some reason. And I just like did these rings. You can see it should not have worked, man. It should not have worked, but it did. And I am not gonna this is something that I'm basically just doing in the air. Like literally, there is no anatomy that I'm following right now. Like you can see, like this is what am I doing? I'm just like creating these rings. I don't know why. Is it Audi sponsored, by the way? I mean, in US, I think you people call it Audi. I don't know, like pronounce it however you want. But you can see I'm basically just doing the same thing over here, just creating the rings. And after that, I am also just trying to blend in those rings with the ears. This should not have worked. I am gonna like say that, first it should not have worked, but it did. Apparently that's how the ears are as well, a little bit. I've seen the images after I am done sculpting the ears. But it did. And yeah, it basically have worked. So God does exist, here is the proof. Just in case if you are wondering where are the proofs, there it is. It actually worked. Okay, but jokes aside, I am like trying to break these shapes now. As you can see that I have created this line in between, and this line's purpose is to create a breakup in the shape. So this is exactly what I'm doing right now. Like no complications, just trying to break up this particular shape so that it does not look similar, like simple, basically, if you can like use this word. And just breaking up the shapes is basically works pretty fine. Now I am going to create this crease. Obviously we all have that in the ears, so I am assuming that tiger is also going to have that. By the way, you can see that this particular crease is not parallel to the outer part of the ears, and I am just trying to create some randomness as well. This is important whenever you are working with organic stuff, for example face, or the tiger's face, or pumpkin. I've actually created a pumpkin as well. So you try to make sure that you basically get as many randomness as you possibly can. And yeah, now actually this is where I am going to be using the human anatomy, or you can say the human memory that I have. I have seen so many of the reference images, and now I'm just going to be using that memory that I have in my brain in order to create the ears. So if you have seen the ears of older people, you're going to realize this wrinkle that I am creating right now. So many older people have this. Like search for the ears of the older people, you're gonna realize that they have this kind of a wrinkle in the ear. So I am actually just trying to achieve something similar, and this is just a shot in the open field. I'm just trying to see if it is gonna work or not, and it actually did work, by the way. So there is the second proof that God exists. This is actually just me trying to figure out if it is gonna work or not, and it actually have worked. And I am just using the information that I have through looking all the reference images and trying to figure out if this particular wrinkle is gonna work or not. And with this particular wrinkles, I also have added the blending. I have also blended the ears. So basically, I have targeted two targets with one arrow. I mean, it's a poem. Is it a? Do you call it a poem? It's a saying, sorry, saying is the word. It's a saying in Hindi, so I'm basically just translating that in English, that you target the two targets with one arrow. So we basically just try and did the one thing, but we were actually able to achieve the two stuff. So that's what just happened. But yeah, ears are definitely looking better, and I was actually shocked that using the human anatomy would have, worked here as well. So technically you can create human with the tiger's anatomy as well, right? I mean, the vice versa should be true as well. If human anatomy can work here, the tiger anatomy could also work in the human faces, right? I mean, don't take that seriously, just in case. If you maybe some people would go out after watching this video and start learning the tiger anatomy because of this, and they might not ever be able to make it into the industry because of this video. So don't do that. Learn the human anatomy, not the tiger anatomy. But if you do wanna, if you do wanna experiment, you obviously can. I'm not gonna stop you. Actually, right now, because what I'm doing is pretty repetitive, I'm just saying some random dumb stuff. So that's what's happening right now. But yeah, this is actually pretty repetitive. I have no idea, by the way. I have like zero clue what to commentate right now. I am basically just doing this on my own. I'm just trying to figure out stuff. I'm just trying to experiment. And this is like, there is no reference for it. So there isn't really anything for me to commentate. This part that I'm doing right now is also something that I have learned in the human anatomy, and I am actually so bad of a teacher that I should create a human anatomy course on the heads so that you can actually learn this stuff. Because right now I'm saying human anatomy, but if you are a beginner, you obviously have zero idea what I'm talking about. If you were to look at a cheekbone, that's how you would like sculpt it in the head. And after, like, on top of that cheekbone, you obviously put a layer of skin and the muscles. But this is something that I do in order to mark the cheekbones, and I'm just trying to do the same thing over here. I mean, I've just tried doing the same thing over there, but right now I am just adding a little bit of breakup in these bigger forms that I have. So just breaking up these similar forms into smaller forms and trying to create some variation on the surface so that it actually looks nice. And because right now the tiger's surface itself is looking pretty plain, right? So I want to break up these plane into smaller planes, and just want to make sure that they actually look nice. And that's pretty much what the idea is right now. You can see that he is looking like a tiger, which is itself an achievement, even though I am doing all this stuff for the first time. So yeah, pat on the back. And if I can do it on the first go, you can definitely do it on the fifth go or the 10th go. Just make sure that you don't give up. And I didn't really want it to be rude, because the reason that I have said the fifth or the 10th go is I have created faces, a whole lot of them. Actually, not just faces, I'm just keep on saying the faces, but I have actually created the body as well. Obviously, when you learn the anatomy, when you start sculpting characters, you obviously do the head and the body simultaneously. And maybe because of that experience of sculpting for so long, and by for so long I meant to say, I think 1 or 2 years, I can actually get the tiger in the first go. So if you are a total beginner, you should be able to achieve something like this in like 5 go or 10 go maximum. So yeah, that's pretty good, right? But after all the talking, I am again gonna be using the human anatomy here. So this is also something that could be confusing for you. Whenever you sculpt your human lips, this muscle right there, I have forgotten the name of the muscles. I am just going to put the text over here, by the way, so that you can see the name of the muscle yourself by googling it. But this particular muscle exists in the human lip corner, and I am literally just using the human anatomy, like literally. This is, I don't know if it exists in the tiger or not. I really hope that it does, by the way, because it end up looking pretty nice. But if it does not, like end up having in the tiger's face or the mouth, then it is gonna be pretty like funny. But this is actually the human anatomy, and that's exactly how I sculpt the lips of the human. But obviously the corner part of the lips, not the entire lips. I cannot sculpt the entire lips on the tiger's face, right? That would be, actually that would have been much more funnier, but I didn't wanted to create a comedy show. So the corner of the lips that you are seeing right now, this is exactly how I do it with the humans. So that's the reason that it is actually kind of funny. I am literally just using the human anatomy, and I am gonna be showing you, not showing you, I am gonna be just giving you the name, and you can just search for the human face or something, and you can literally just see whether they are same or not. So that is actually kind of funny. This is also human anatomy, so I should actually make a course on it, by the way. And oh, wait, I am literally just explaining you the same thing. So if you were to look at this, the human face creates a W, which for some reason tiger face is also creating. So we are kind of similar. I've told you that I am making you, you know, I am making you, I am making tiger. It's the same thing. So you can see this W that the tiger have. It also is something that humans also have. By the way, I should just create a course on the human anatomy, especially the head. So, yep, but I'm gonna talk about that later, maybe in the future videos. So I am basically just trying to do the same thing over here, create this W kind of a form in the cheek area. Sorry, not the cheek area. What am I saying? In the chin area. Yep. And this is basically, I didn't realize that, by the way, that tigers are gonna have it. I just drawn the W by thinking that humans have it, so he must have also have it. But it just turned out that the tigers also have it. So there is a possibility that the corner of the mouth that I have created is also gonna be the same in the tigers as well. Okay. But yeah, right now you can see after the W, I'm basically just creating a nice looking transition so that it basically blends in with the skin nicely. And the tiger itself is looking pretty nice. So we are already there. We just need to work on it a little bit. Obviously, whenever you are working on a sculpture, you just don't finish it on the first go. I've already talked about it. You actually visit the same area again and again, and this is just part of the process. And if you feel like that I am like taking a bit too much, again, I've told you, you can just speed things up. Okay, so now we are going to be creating this whiskers places. Obviously, not the whiskers or the mustache itself, but the places where they are growing. And I've told you, because we are going to be making it for 3D printing, I am going to be physically marking these in. So I mean, you must have seen the render. I'm saying this stuff again and again that you must have seen the renders. But if you did have seen the renders, then you know what I'm talking about. So the way that I am going to be approaching this is pretty simple. I am going to be just marking these lines by the mask brush. And before I do that, I realized that this part is actually kind of flat, so I need to add a little bit of volume in order to make it a little bit round here. That's funny, you know, after realizing that it is actually kind of okay in terms of the surface. I am again gonna go to the mask, and you can just press M, by the way. So just press M for mask, and you will basically just select this brush. But now we are going to create this line, and you can see how straight this line is. So I'm just gonna try and achieve something similar, but the line that I have just drawn is not as straight as it should be. So I am just gonna be undoing it and gonna try to, draw it again. So this is basically what the idea is right now. Just trying to make sure that it matches with the line that we have in the reference. But before that, you can see that I am actually looking at the reference and trying to figure out if the volume at the mouth is correct or not. And I feel like that the volume is coming out a bit too much. So now I am just pushing it back in, and you can just do that like even at the end of the piece. Like you can always change the bigger shapes whenever you want, because we are actually sculpting digitally. You have the option to do it. If you were to do it with the clay, then it would not have been possible without destroying the like smaller details. So this is a privilege that you get whenever you are sculpting digitally. But yeah, this is something that I've realized, that the volume in that particular area was a bit too much. So I have just pushed that particular part in, and now let's see. I think I am gonna be pushing the middle area a little bit inside as well. So I guess that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, you can see that I am basically just pushing it in now. And now I guess okay, now I am gonna be painting those lines. So let's see if I can do it now or not. By the way, is this a suspense? Am I gonna be doing it? Come on. How long are we going to wait? Just do it. The audience are watching. Come on. Yes, I have created a dot. Some of the dots are not okay. We have created the line, and this line is a bit too straight. I mean, it is literally perpendicular. Like it seems like that someone has drawn this line on the y-axis. So I guess I am gonna be changing it a little bit above. You can see that I've created the dot, and now I'm just gonna be trying to match the dot, and you can see how bad my drawing is. By the way, I'm not using a pen tab with the screen. I am using a cheaper one. I'm actually using a XP Pen's pen tab without the screen, and it is literally one of the cheapest one that they have. So I just want to say, if you might not like my tutorials, and that's okay for you, not for me, obviously, because if you don't like my tutorials, then I'm not gonna get the views, and if I don't get the views, I might not get famous. But the thing is, even if you might not like my tutorials, and you might like the result that I get, the final result, then just remember that I am actually using a cheap pen tab that you can also use in order to create your sculpts and basically get similar results. So expensive pen tab is not going to be that much of an help, because in the end the pen tab, either with the screen or without the screen, doesn't really matter as much. So yeah, you can basically just buy a cheaper one and it would work fine. Like it would work 100% fine. But right now the way that I'm basically adding these lines is, I am just like adding two dots and now I'm just connecting those. So this is the work, like this is the workflow that I figured out is gonna work, and it is working. So I'm just gonna stick with it. By the way, you can see that the lines that I am drawing, there are not going to be lines, but there are going to be holes for the whiskers. So what I am gonna do, I am basically just going to be removing these lines from some of the spots, and you're gonna just see that right now. Okay, instead of removing the lines, I am actually gonna be inverting the mask, and now I am gonna be like going to the draw sharp brush and basically just going to choose wherever the hole is. I am just going to poke out with this brush to create a hole like this, and then I'm going to be removing the mask in order to make these holes a little bit deeper. And again, I don't wanna say any whole joke, because you need to save something for the next videos, right? If I were to just say all the jokes in this video, like what am I gonna be using in the next one? Even though these jokes are not as good, by the way, in my native language I can do so much more better jokes, but English is obviously not my native language, and it is already hard enough to speak. you know I don't want to level things up by making jokes as well. But in the future, as soon as I get comfortable with this language, trust me, I am gonna be the funniest YouTuber out there. No, I'm not. I don't think that I actually got the talent, but still, you are still gonna be able to, hear some nice jokes. But right now, you just get to witness all the weird stuff that I say. So maybe you are actually gonna worship that I don't get good at speaking English. There is a possibility that you might praying for. And with all the stuff that I've said, I have created these holes. Now with the draw sharp brush selected, I am gonna be just creating a line in between these holes. Basically the line that actually connect these holes. So you're gonna just see what I'm gonna do. And this is, again, I am gonna be 3D printing him. So this is the reason that I'm also exaggerating some of these stuff. And you're gonna have to know that this is not a real tiger, but more of a sculpture. So especially for 3D printing, so you cannot get the colors. I mean, technically you can get the colors, but it is not that efficient. It is not that like you cannot get the shades, right? So you have to paint all those stuff whenever you are 3D printing something. So in this case, I obviously don't want to paint. I obviously don't want to create multiple colors. So I am basically just going to create all these details in the sculpt itself, so that whenever I'll 3D print this, I can actually get this nice looking details in the print itself. And this is also the reason wherever you can see the stripes in the reference, I am basically just going to carve these in so that I can get those details in the 3D print. But right now you can see what I have just done. I am going to be like manually creating some randomness in these holes. So first thing first, I am blending them with the skin right now because they are not as smooth with the skin. So I am just gonna be like using the clay strip brush to make something like this. And this is actually just me blending it with the skin itself, like this whisker part. I don't even know what to call it. I'm just going to say the whisker part or something. So the reason that I'm doing this is to make sure that it blend with the mouth nicely, and there is a smooth transition basically between this particular area and the mouth area, the upper mouth area, or whatever you basically say it, call it. Yep. And okay, so at this particular area, you can see that I'm removing a little bit of volume, and this is something that I sometimes do. This is just, I mean, this just clicks for me. I don't know why I have removed that. It just looked better, so I just did, and I don't have the explanation why I felt like that I need to remove that volume, but it's okay. Now you can see that I am basically just creating some randomness with these holes. I am like making them a little bit longer, not all of these, because again randomness is the key. If I were to make each and every single one of these holes longer, then there won't be randomness and then it won't look natural. So right now the idea is to make them look natural, and in order to do that I am basically just going to be creating some randomness. And I hope that was actually easy to understand. Right now we are, as you can see, at the 1 million polygon, and if you want to, you can increase that. And I think I am gonna be increasing that, by the way. I don't know why I have pointed that out. I thought that I am gonna be increasing the polygons, and that is the reason that I pointed out the polygons. But I am just continue sculpting stuff, so I don't know. Okay, so right now you can clearly see that I am creating a sharper fall off between the lips, even though tigers don't have the lips. Like, do they have the lips? I don't know. But you can see in the reference there is this sharper fall off that tigers have. So I am just trying to create something similar. And I have stopped working in the whiskers area. I cannot tell you why, because I should have been working on it instead of just doing what I'm doing right now. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm just going to push it down to basically create the hole in the mouth a little bit deeper. And yeah, this is actually the reason, but why I am doing after abandoning the whiskers is beyond me. So, yep, this is something that I do sometimes. And you can see the upper area needs to go up as well so that we actually don't see this part. The reason might be that I don't want to see this in the 3D print because it is gonna look weird, and I just wanted to remove it from the site. That's why I'm basically just doing this particular thing. And you can see this part is not like 100% masked. That's why it also moved, and now I have to smooth it out in order to make it straight. So, yep, this is also something that would happen to you, and it is totally fine. You can pretty easily fix this. Okay. This video is approximately 2 hours long, and I am kind of exhausting commentating over it. So, that's why I'm actually kind of stopping in between. So, yep, that is also a problem. But right now, you can see that I'm back at the whiskers area. So, let's actually just do that. And as you can see that I am going to be increasing the polygons. So this is basically the reason that I might be showing you like how much polygons we have right now, because I wanted to increase them. Again, the idea is to make them a little bit random, right? So this is what we need to realize, and we just need to work on it. So you cannot do every single one of them similarly, because otherwise they are not going to be random, right? So try to do whatever you are doing, and try not to repeat that. At least if you are repeating that particular like thing, then maybe give a gap so that there would be some randomness. Even though right now I'm basically just doing the same thing on both of these. What should I call whisker? Like the whisker hole. I don't even know what call it, but you can see that I am basically just making them a little bit deeper. But I remember that I am gonna like revisit them and then gonna make them a little bit more less deep. Like few of them are going to be less deep. What's the word for less deep, by the way? What's the opposite of deep? I think I should actually Google it right now, before recording any further stuff. Or maybe not. You can see that I'm actually just filling up some of these areas. So that's the randomness that I was talking about. And also, I think whatever we have closer to the nose is actually going to be less deeper. And whatever we have closer to, like, whatever we have further to the nose is going to be more deeper, is I think the idea is right now. So you're gonna see that I am actually just filling up some of these areas that are closer to the nose. As you can see that I'm also filling up this particular part as well. Or maybe these are way too close to the nose. This could also be the reason. I don't know what's going in my mind right now. Like I'm commentating over it and I don't even know what's like going through my mind right now. So that is actually weird, not gonna lie. But you can see that I have actually just filled some of these holes, and that's literally my first time, by the way. Okay, I'm not gonna say any of those jokes, but literally just filling some of these holes in order to make some randomness, and I think they are a bit too deep. I didn't like them that deep because it's way harder to reach there. Okay, wait, what am I saying? You should actually ignore all this stuff. But the thing is, I'm just trying to create randomness, and that's basically what I'm doing. There isn't really any other motives. Okay, so you can see, I don't even know what to commentate right now. Like, literally just trying to make as much randomness as I possibly can, and I have no idea, like literally no idea what to say right now. Like you can see, I am basically just giving the randomness in the depth. I am giving the randomness in terms of these lines, whether they have similar depth all along, and I am also just decreasing or increasing the depth. But yeah, right now you can see that I'm looking at the nose, and this is also something that humans have, by the way. So I am gonna be adding that as well, and human anatomy is gonna be working here as well. But in this case, obviously, we can see that the tiger has it. So I am gonna do that, and the first thing that you can see is that the base of the nose needs to be a little bit broader. I like pointed that out, by the way, just in case if you missed that. So again, just looking at all of these differences and trying to make sure that it basically works, and it actually is working. So that's a good thing. We can spot these differences and then fix that. Oh, by the way, I think I am gonna be adding this particular part, but I might not like it, and because of the stylization, I am actually gonna be removing it. I cannot remember right now, but let's see. If I were to add it, there is a possibility that I am also going to be removing it, because it just turned out to be not like good enough looking. So let's see. So yeah, you can see that I am adding that, and let's see if it is working or not. I cannot say 100% whether it is working or not. I might have to like change some stuff, which I am gonna be doing, I think. So let's see. I really hope that I actually change some stuff. Okay, I think, okay, I am blending this a little bit better right now. So let's see if it is gonna work or not. And yeah, it definitely have made it a little bit better, not gonna lie. But you can see that I am like pushing it back because I've realized that it was not really working that nicely. So I've just pushed it back, and it is totally fine. For the sake of stylization, you can do that. It just didn't work. So I removed it, and I didn't want it to spend more time. Okay, so inflate. I am using inflate after like, I think this is the first time I'm using the inflate, right? So the reason that I'm using the inflate is because it pushes your geometry on the normals. So if you were to use the inflate, you are gonna get much more spherical volumes. And whether you are adding it or removing it, you can see So in the nose itself, you can clearly see what I've just tried to create, and I really hope that I don't have to like point out the area that I've just created with the inflate brush. So yeah, this is what I've just done, and the reason I have used the inflate is, again, I've told you, because it works on the normals. It basically pushes your polygons on their normals. So because of that reason, it actually creates more spherical volumes. And if you want to create volume that are spherical, just use the inflate. I think I've also used the inflate in the ears. Yeah, I think I've used the inflate in the ears as well. I am like dumb enough that I didn't point that out. Or maybe I did point that out, but now I have literally just forgotten that in this particular recording. I don't know. I am like, I cannot just, okay, I'm gonna stop, you know, I'm gonna stop this sentence and then start a new one. So right now you can see that this particular part that I am like doing right now, this is something that I actually tried creating multiple times. I've tried creating this sharper difference between these volumes, and this is my newer attempt at this. And this is something that we had in the start as well, but I've just filled that up. But this time, let's see if it is gonna work or not. And you can see that I'm just using the clay strip again, and it is actually kind of working, but I think it is a bit too sharp. I can remove some sharpness, but it is definitely working. So removing just a little bit of sharpness should give us some nice looking result, and it actually is giving us nice looking result. I'm not gonna lie, it is looking okay. It is looking absolutely fine. So we are good to go. And yeah, you can like pretty easily can see that the tiger itself is looking pretty nice. The cheekbone itself is looking pretty nice. The whisker area is also looking nice, and the jaw line that we have is also looking pretty nice. He is a Chad tiger, by the way. Okay, I am like removing a little bit of Chadness from him by filling up this vacant area that we had behind the jaw line, and we are removing the C from the Chad, and now it is only head. And that is a bad joke, a really bad one. I literally just stop saying for like a minute, you know, so that I don't actually repeat this stuff again. But yeah, I am not gonna do that, by the way. I'm not gonna just stop saying stuff, because it is my responsibility, to give you some hearing aid. And also, I cannot just like, put my back towards you and just run away from the responsibility of doing the recording, not the recording, but the commentary from my own video. I cannot do that. So that's why I have to stick and I have to be here with you. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, right now, I guess we are actually going to start working on the eye as well. Eye is something that we have not worked on for pretty long time. And what I'm doing is, what I am actually just trying to create a breakup in the upper eyelid area. And the reason is, again, I'm just into the secondary forms. And in order to do that, in order to create the secondary forms, we can actually just break up some of the primary forms. And yeah, this is basically what the reason is. So again, you can see that I am actually just adding the similar volume, but this volume is now broken up into multiple parts. So the bigger volume is still the same, but that bigger volume is now divided into some smaller volumes. And this is something that I'm just trying to do to see if it is gonna work or not. And I'm again using the scrape brush. I really wanted to see if it is gonna work, but it didn't work as nicely, so I had to use the clay strip brush in order to do the upper eyelid area. And let's see. So it is actually looking pretty nice, and now I'm just trying to blend in this particular area, because this part that I'm working on right now is itself the upper eyelid, so I can actually just blend that particular in. And this is a happy accident, by the way. The volume that I am adding is just accidentally there, so I thought, why not exaggerate that a little bit? So I'm just doing that. And yeah, it was just an happy accident that could happen to you. You can accidentally create a volume like this. And by the way, it is a real term, just in case if you are wondering. Happy accident is indeed a real term. And yeah, it could happen to you. It can happen. It actually have happened to me, so it can happen to you. The only problem is, why doesn't something like this happen to me in real life? Like, happy accident, for example, I'm like walking on the road and suddenly I find a 2000 rupees note. I mean, that would be an happy accident, but that doesn't happen, and it is actually sad, not gonna lie. But it is totally fine. You know, I can actually earn money on my own as well. Okay, so right now you can see that I'm working on the corner of the eye, and if you've seen my Suraj Sir creature character, that's what the name of the character is, by the way. You're gonna realize that I basically have similar eyes in him as well. The blue character, basically the blue one or the green one. Some people say that it's blue, some people say that it's green. I'm just gonna have the options open for them. So that character also have the eyes like this. So I have, a little bit of experience making them, and I am using that experience over here. That's why you can see how bad they are. Yep. Actually, they are not that bad. I'm gonna be fixing them right now. But you can see, if you were to look at it from the side view, this is basically what the angle is. And in our case, it is pretty straight. So we need to fix that. Instead of going straight, it needs to go back like this. And now we have the same angle that we had in the reference. So again, the references are super important. And looking at all these silhouettes, all these curves, all these volumes, all the bigger shapes are actually so important for your sculpt. And just minimize the difference between the sculpt itself and the reference, and you are just gonna be there. So that's basically what the sculpting is. If you have a reference, try to make sure that the difference between your sculpt and your reference just gets smaller and smaller with time, and you will just eventually, create a really nice looking sculpt. And yeah, right now I am actually working on the eye. So obviously I should not be saying that I'm working on the eye. I should be more technical. For example, what can I say right now? I have no idea. I'm literally just moving stuff around. But I am making this corner of the eye, like the outer corner of the eye, is a little bit sharper. And now I'm just gonna be blending them in, because this is something that I've done pretty frequently in this whole video. And this video is 2 hours long officially. By the way, there is a possibility that I might split this video up into multiple parts. So that is a possibility, not gonna lie. There is a possibility, even though I'm saying 2 hours long, there is a possibility that I might just do part one and part two for it. And there is also possibility that I might not do that. So I have the options open. And now that I've actually said that this video is 2 hours long, approximately, obviously, I might not do the part one or part two thing. It might just be a whole single video. And the good thing is, by the way, we've done all of that in real time. So that should be good enough for you to watch this video. And if you don't wanna hear my talking, maybe you actually like the Eminem's voice bit better, or Chester's voice, you can actually just put on some music and speed this up, and just look at it as a time lapse. That is also an option. I mean, definitely my voice is also beautiful, you know at least that's what my ma says. But you might not agree with this statement, right? So yep, you can actually just watch this video as a time lapse by increasing the speed. So I mean, totally up to you. I don't really mind, just watch the video, don't skip it. If you were to skip it, that is something that I would mind. But if you don't, then I have no problem. Whether you like watch it with the time, like whether you watch it with the audio or not, I don't have any problem with that. Okay, so right now you can see that this corner, again, this is something that we've already talked about many times, that I kind of want smoother transitions, so I am just doing something similar over here as well. And yeah, this tiger is definitely looking nicer. I mean, it could easily become the hero in the Jungle Book. Like literally, it could replace the Simba at this point. That's how good the sculpture is already. And yeah, we are just gonna get forward from here. So imagine we are literally going to create a masterpiece from now. Like from now on, I should not be saying that. That is kind of respectful. So I'm not. I should be apologizing for that. Yep. Uh, as you can see that I'm basically just like literally I'm literally just using the clay strip brush and making these random strokes to actually give this feeling of clay stripness. And now I'm just going around the whole sculpt to see which one of these things that I can fix. And I've realized that the ears had some sharper lines, so I've just fixed that. And this is just something that I'm doing. I'm literally just breaking up the bigger forms into smaller ones. Like you can actually saying these volumes that I'm adding right now, they are just random volumes, like no anatomy. Like literally there is, I don't know if there is a muscle there or not, but I'm still just adding the volume to make sure that the bigger forms could be subdivided into smaller forms, and eventually the sculpture would have more forms and it would just look better. So that's basically what the idea is right now. Okay, one thing that you can see that the nose from the side is not flat enough. As you can see, we have this really nice curvature going on. So we need to do the same thing with our sculpture as well. And now I'm just like using the grab brush in order to achieve that. So it should be pretty smooth if you were to just look at it from the side view. And that's what I've just did right now. And again now, because we've used the grab brush with the sharper fall off, we had to use the clay strip brush in order to, smooth out the transition. And again, I am getting exhausted by the way, so it is kind of hard to speak for literally 2 hours. And if you appreciate the effort that I've just did, speaking for 2 hours straight, then you have to follow, like, and subscribe. And if you have multiple Gmail IDs, just log in with that into your YouTube and then like the videos from those Gmails as well. By the way, I don't know if it is legal to do that or not, but you technically can make multiple Gmail IDs from one number, right? I mean, if you really like this video, I mean, people don't usually like my videos as much, so they are not just going to make multiple Gmail accounts in order to do that. I just know it. So it is totally fine. Maybe in the future I'll have enough followers, and some mad ones, by the way. Some of the celebrities do have some mad followers that they basically just do anything for them. So you know let's see, maybe I'll get some mad followers. And the good thing is this video is actually about to end in few minutes, so that's a good news. And it is pretty nice. I know for some people it might be bad news because they actually want to see me for eternity. And the reason is because I'm so entertaining. I know that, and it is totally fine. I am gonna be keep on uploading the videos, so just subscribe the channel if you want to watch more of me. But yes, the video is about to end, and in the next video we are gonna start sculpting the hairs. So that is nice, right? For this video we are almost done, and I am actually just I think I should be just saying bye bye or goodbye. Or is there any other like byes that I can say, because this video is about to end. And I've already said so many, like I've already been saying for so long that I literally have just run out of the words. And I am so happy right now that I don't have to do the commentary now. I'm just like saying some random stuff. And yeah, this video is actually about to end. You can see that I've actually just about to start adding the hairs. So I'm gonna see you in the next one where we are gonna be learning the process of adding the hairs. And yeah, I'm gonna see you in the next one.